Everything black love, everything. Praise black Jesus, play like Moses. Give them flowers while they still feel like roses. Everything black.
Yeah, everything black. Uh, hey man, Pastor Kevin Kev, welcome to the debut of Preaching to the Choir. Today we're gonna talk about Spurs, man. It's a Spurs edition. Just to start us off. So I got three guys here, Spurs fans. We got Rashad, my coach with Rashad podcast. We got DJ, who's been a guest on there. He's a Spurs fan, and we have Rudy. So I'm going to put them in, bring them in one by one, and then we're gonna get this thing rolling with Preaching to the Choir. Thanks for everybody who's tuning in, watching us. It's going to be a good one. It's gonna be a good show. Like I said, it's the first one, so we have little nooks and crannies, man. It's okay. I apologize. Let me just get all my stuff ready, pin to the profile. Let me get all that stuff in. So I'm going to introduce Rudy first. He's from Sweet the League podcast. So Rudy, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me, especially on the Spurs edition of all things, man.
All right, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Now I'm going to introduce Rashad. Y'all know him, co-host of the Preach Care Preach podcast. What's going on, man?
Yeah, what it do, baby?
Shout out. Hey, that's right on brand too. Talking about Kawhi in a second. And of course, we got DJ as well, another Spurs fan. What's going on, DJ? What's going on, DJ? You hear me?
What's happening, bro? Appreciate you.
What's going on? No doubt, no doubt. So we can just gonna get it rolling. Y'all Spurs, man. So before I let y'all go off on your own tangent, I had to say. So you from the 8 seed, you are 6 games back with maybe 15 to 20 games left. What percent are y'all? We can start Rudy. We go Rashad. Then we go DJ. Of confidence are y'all of y'all making it to the playoffs?
You know what? I'm no confident at all. I've got 0% making the playoffs. 6 games doesn't seem like a lot with 20 to play, but I mean, you're still staring in the face of, the Mavericks, the Nuggets. You still got to go up against the Rockets twice. You still got the Pelicans who still give us trouble. Pacers. I mean, even struggle against the Kings. So with all these games still remaining, I'd give it 0%, man. Let's just get on to next year. There's no reason to have this year anymore.
I'm the same, 0%. They're gonna probably shut down DeJounte Murray. The playoff streak will be broken. So at this point, they're just gonna get the young guys some minutes and start planning for upcoming draft pick and upcoming roster turnover. Pretty much 0%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with the fellas, man. 0. We suck. Just call it for what it is.
Hey.
I mean, I'm just really disappointed, man. I just feel like, last year the team started to gel. I know DeJounte was hurt, but the team started to gel. They nearly knocked off Denver. And then you come back this year, you got all the pieces in place to, I feel like to make a run. I'm going to say make a run, but make the playoffs, because this team's definitely not making a run. But, yeah, I mean, you lose. I feel like it started with Marcus Morris not signing, because that would have been a huge signing for the Spurs in the offseason. So him not signing kind of, threw a monkey wrench and everything, and then we had to settle for Trey Lyles. Now you got him starting some games. You got Brent Forbes still starting games. I don't understand what Pop's doing this year as far as rotations, man. So it is what it is. Yeah, get ready for the draft. Obi Toppin for president. That's who I hope we pick, but that's a whole different discussion. So yeah, 0%.
Yeah, I'm going 0 as well. So if anybody had to get anything off their chest about the Spurs this year, because you mentioned about the rotations, and I feel like that's been like the underline of this whole Spurs season of, do he know the right guys to play? And he was playing the old guys. He didn't play DeMar Carroll. He's been bought out since then. Basically a waste of money, paying him to go away. But it's like, where did he go wrong when he started this season, this rotation? When you're talking about Pop, who's one of the best coaches to ever do it.
As far as Pop goes, the a lot of the chatter here in San Antonio is you've got mixed feelings. You say guys that you can't blame Pop because he's won 5 rings with the Spurs. He's the GOAT when it comes to the NBA coaching, ranks. Then you've got a lot of people who were on the Pop bandwagon who have jumped off since because he doesn't know how to get his rotations correct. He plays these dumb lineups. He's not motivating the players, and it's kind of hit or miss this year with Pop. What I really feel about Pop is that he's a good coach. He's a great coach. He's a goat of coaching in the NBA, in my opinion. But he's so used to having a certain team around him, a la defensive minded players, good rotation players. He's got a really good set of vets and maybe a couple of young guys to where now he's got a bunch of young guys, and I just don't think they're gelling, with his style of coaching. You're talking about Murray. Murray was supposed to come in and have this great season. He's not having that great season. He's struggling this season. Everybody was on the Lonnie Walker bandwagon. Lonnie Walker has only had maybe 2 good games all season. He's had more bad games than anything. So I look at it as this, as far as Pop goes, has the game passed him by? No, I just don't think he has the team he needs or he's used to coaching. And that's where I feel like he's kind of failing on the lineup part because, yeah, you're right. You've seen Bryn Forbes a lot this year. Bryn Forbes is trash. He's garbage. I mean, I'm just going to basically say it. He is garbage all the way up to your stars. DeMar DeRozan, the guy still won't take a 3-point shot for whatever reason. I mean, Ben Simmons probably has more attempts this season than DeMar DeRozan has, and that's sad. So, as far as Pop goes, he's working with what he's got.
Ouch.
Yeah, he's working with what he's got. Can't blame him for that. So, it's just hit or miss when it comes to Pop for me this season.
Well, where did it go wrong? That's the easy question. It went wrong once they traded Kawhi. It was all once everything happened with Kawhi. That was the beginning of the end, pretty much. Because at least when in Kawhi, you have your Tim Duncan successor, and you have the guy who can carry you through those tough games when you're losing by 3 or 4. He can get you some buckets and push you through. So it all started once he got traded to Toronto. I feel like when they got DeMar back, that was okay. That in total, that was okay for what you had a distressed asset. So that's really what the best you could do because everybody just was thinking like, well, we're not going to take the risk when he's going to walk anyway. So Toronto just, hey, this is the best you can get on the market. So I can't fault them for getting DeMar and Poto. I mean, I would have probably asked for something else in hindsight, like OG or Siakam, but Masai's too smart to even give up those guys. That's why they kept him. So, with a distressed asset in Kawhi, you did what you could do. And, I mean, the Spurs could have made a Western Conference Finals run last season because they barely lost to Denver. And then even the Denver-Portland series went to the very end. So that could have potentially been the Spurs in that position again, but they lost in the first round. So that's how it turned out. But going into this year, you trade Bertans to even try to get Morris, which was definitely dumb because you've drafted this guy, you developed him. Why let him go to get this guy who backs out last minute? Now you're scrambling. You have to settle for – Lyles has been pretty solid this year, but you still have to settle for him. You settle for DeMar Carroll. I mean, and then look what happens. You you buy DeMar Carroll out to let him go up the street to Houston. Trey Lyles is still doing what he can, but he's not a game changer like that. I mean, he's just a good rotation piece. So you add back Murray into Bellinelli, DeMar, Forbes, and Derek White, which last year was a pretty solid, rotation, but now you're adding back, even though Murray's a defensive stalwart, you add him back into an already hefty guard rotation on top of drafting Lonnie and Keldon. You just got a hodgepodge of talent where you can't. It's hard to manage it all. You don't know who's real and who's not real because last year Forbes and White kind of had outlier years, so you don't know who's real and who's not. Aldridge he's aging. DeMar's aging. They both play mid-range games. You just have a roster that really doesn't fit. So you kind of have to go with the Asian guys or the young guys, and they haven't decided what to do yet because you still play Rudy Gay good minutes, but you also try to get Lonnie in, even though he's been struggling. So it's just a hodgepodge of talent, and you don't really have a true direction where you want to go.
DJ. DJ, you there?
Yeah, I mean, like I said too, I agree with pretty much everything. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, good.
Okay. Yeah, my service. I think it might be my service a little bit in and out, but yeah. I mean, I agree with pretty much all of what you guys said, man. I mean, the rotations is yeah. I mean, Pop can only do so much. As far as rotations, I mean, there's a lot that transpired. I mean, the Bertans thing, I understand to an extent. I mean, he was probably the best 3-point shooter we had, but he was so bad on defense. It's like, I mean, he's 6'10". I just didn't expect him to be that bad on defense for him to be able to potentially play multiple positions. As far as the Lonnie Walker thing goes, yeah, I mean, yeah, he's had some interesting stretches. I mean, he's had some good games. He's also probably had more bad than good, but it's hard to play. It's hard to get consistency when your minutes aren't consistent. So, if he were to get more consistent minutes, maybe 20 to 25 minutes a game opposed to maybe 5 to 15, which it just kind of varies on the night, then I feel like he could be more productive. Um, and at this point, honestly, I mean, Pop might as well play Keldon Johnson because I think he's going to show promise, and he might as well play Lucas Manage and give him some minutes to start, kind of getting in the swing of things as well. And honestly, I don't understand why Matu hasn't played more minutes. I mean, he's been productive in the G League. There's not much more he can do in the G League. Let's be honest about it. So, I mean, you might as well go ahead and start playing a lot of these young guys. Let White, Lonnie, Keldon get some of the bulk of those minutes. Sit Bellinelli out. There's no reason why Bellinelli should play. If Bellinelli's not hitting shots, he's useless. He's useless.
Right.
So, I
So
mean, it is what it is.
you mentioned the young guys, Kevin Johnson, Lucas Mansion. Like, do you? I mean, Rashad, you said that the direction we don't know the direction the Spurs want to go. Do they want to keep playing the old guys or not? We got Murray, 23 years old. Derek White's around 25. Keldon's like what, 20? Just a freshman last season. Lucas, I mean, he's 21, 22. He's not an old guy either. You got all these young pieces, and yet, like you said, you be still rolling out the Bellinelli. You're still rolling out Rudy Gay. Rudy Gay only averaging 10 points a game this season. I'm saying, like, for what? You know what I mean? Like, if it's not going to produce, Rudy Gay is a guy that needs to be on I would say a contending team where he's a role player, not a 25, 30-minute guy on the team that's this season is struggling. So with all three of y'all giving them a 0% chance, he should have been somebody that they probably should have got rid of, because I mean, we talked about it before. Spurs should have did some kind of trade, some kind of pieces to where let's get something, because like Rashad mentioned about the Kawhi trade. All right, so you trade Kawhi away for DeRozan and Poto. Now DeRozan has an option to decline his player option and go somewhere else. So now you're about to lose a guy he was already in the 30s anyway. A guy who Rudy said shoot less than Ben Simmons from 3-point shot. Now he's going to walk away, right? And he's not going to have any value toward. Now you left Kawhi with Poto, and and I mean, he just Messiah's too smart. You could have got OG, but my only thing about the mistakes is not. I won't say mistake is like, do y'all kind of regret? I won't say regret, but do y'all wish y'all team would have did something different as far as the Kawhi trade? Do you think y'all should have traded him to the Lakers? Do you think of what Alonzo and Ingram done this season? I know it's hindsight, but do you think what they done this season, uh, makes the most sense, because now he's still in LA, regardless of Lakers or Clippers. He's still a team. He's still on the team that's going to contend for a championship. But do you, like, for y'all benefit though, getting a guy like DeRozan, was it really worth it when you could have had an emerging guy? I mean, obviously all this is potential, but emerging guy Ingram, emerging guy Alonzo, who since the All-Star breaks in this season, like they've been balling.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, as far as the Kawhi deal, I look at it every single day, especially being in San Antonio. It gets talked about almost daily. So you got DeRozan, you got Jakob for Kawhi, and it's kind of like the Spurs and the front office and Pop were kind of laughing, like, "Well, we're going to just send you north. We're going to send you out of the country. Forget you going into the 50 states. We're going to send you out of the country, send you to Toronto. Ha ha ha." And what does he do? He goes out and wins a title with Toronto. So it's kind of like the Naked Gun scene where you're slapping your face and like, well, okay, it's jokes on us. I think the trade should have been where it was either one of the LA teams, because in the Lakers side, you're getting Alonzo Ball, you're getting a Brandon Ingram, and I think it was another player. I can't remember. It wasn't Kuzma, but it was somebody else. I think it was Josh Hart. Was
Should
the
have
other
been
guy
Josh
too.
Hart. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good deal right there. You're getting a young star, sort of star already in Ingram. The transition that Lonzo has made this season is unbelievable. I wrote this guy off the moment he was drafted. This season, I've got a lot of respect for Lonzo. He changed his jump shot. A guy like Chip England could work with him. That would be magnificent. But the other deal was the Clippers. I mean, you were talking the potential of Tobias Harris, and I think it was the 12th and 14th or 12th and 13th pick in the draft. I mean, for Kawhi Leonard, you're getting two young guys in the draft, lottery draft, and in the lottery basically. You're getting Tobias Harris. That gives you your small forward. You look at who they drafted. You could have easily got a Michael Porter Jr. in one of those selections. I think it was Shai Gilchrist Alexander was another one. You had a lot of potential in that draft to get a good player and two good ones at that. So the Spurs dropped the ball, but you know what? I knew with like Rashad and everybody. My question as far as Kawhi is this: there was a draft night. I think it was the draft night where they took White. They were attempting to trade LaMarcus Aldridge that night. I still feel that the reason why Kawhi just shut it down and wanted to leave was because he couldn't work with LaMarcus Aldridge. He can't play with Aldridge. So if you are knowing that Kawhi said, hey, I don't want to play with this guy, and you're trying to trade LMA on draft night, why would you say, okay, well, we're not going to trade you and potentially lose Kawhi Leonard for LaMarcus Aldridge? I mean, you got both guys on the palms of your hand. Who would you rather get rid of, Kawhi Leonard or LaMarcus Aldridge? I mean, to me, it's a simple answer. You get rid of the guy who's soft as Charmin, and you keep the guy who's probably top two, maybe the best player in the league, two-way player in the league. So that's where I feel in the Kawhi situation. It was just kind of messed up everywhere. Spurs, I believe, dropped the ball. The front office dropped the ball, and it just made a total mess out of everything.
Well, I'm on the opposite end. I think the Spurs got a good trade for Kawhi because at the time you have to look at. Of course, it's hindsight now, but we look at the time of that trade. Lonzo Ball was not it. The struggles of LeVar Ball, Brandon Ingram hadn't really shown flashes like that. Josh Hart hadn't either. So at the time, that wasn't really appealing. Plus the rivalry of Spurs Lakers, so that wasn't a very appealing. To Tobias Harris, you would have had to pay him, which he got paid now, and the two picks. But we all know draft picks are hit or miss. No matter how strong your system is, draft picks are hit or miss. So you traded number 1, 2, or 3 best in the world for number at the time 18 through 25 best in the world with DeMar DeRozan, and you got a solid big back in the total. So to me, that was the best you could do to go at what you already had, because there were so many unknowns with the Ingrams, the Lonzos, and other situations. So I think they got the best they could do at the time. So, I mean, of course, now you're thinking, well, they could have got the better young haul. But when you put those young guys with what you already have young, you still have to work out all the kinks of, all right, are we going to go with Lonzo Ball? Or they already had kind of built up Murray as the next guy, so you don't really need two of the same thing like that. You still had White, Forbes, all that kind of stuff, unless you were going to exchange some pieces. But you'd have just kind of been getting the same thing back as far as a hodgepodge of talent with Hart and those guys. So I can see why they did not do either one of those trades. I mean, what Kawhi did afterwards of leaving Toronto, going to LA, that's just what it is. That's just the nature of the business. But they weren't going to lose him for nothing. So to even have a chance of getting back a guy like DeMar, it worked out because you still made the playoffs. And, maybe he doesn't leave. Maybe he does opt in and wants to enter into that 2021 free agency class, or maybe you can flip him into something to like the Hawks for their picks coming this year. I mean, it's still a situation. Maybe you can still flip LaMarcus Aldridge to a team that wants a big. He's going to be on the expiring deal. He'll be going to his last year. So maybe you can flip him to somebody else, like the Pacers or anybody else. Maybe you can just flip him somewhere else. So it's not all doom and gloom for the Spurs right now. I think they still have hope for what they can do in the future. Of course, Pop is aging. He has plans to retire soon. But I think as far as like the Kawhi trade, they got the best they could do. And I was hoping they would have traded LaMarcus to the Pacers for like a guy like Miles Turner. That kind of opens up your spacing and some defense. And then if you can do something else with DeMar down the line, maybe flip him to the Hawks or the Magic, you can retool your roster on the fly and maybe be competitive going forward. But there are deals out there. It's just a matter of what they do going forward. And yeah, Kawhi and LMA, they couldn't play together because when Aldridge signed to the Spurs, it was anticipated he was going to be the successor to Duncan. Nobody thought Kawhi was going to emerge until like the best in the world, honestly.
Right.
So like he was showing flashes of being that guy from like the Finals MVP, back-to-back defensive player. He was showing those flashes, but nobody thought he was going to be right there with LeBron, KD, and of course after that Giannis as the the top 4 or 5 best in the world. So I don't think he might have predicted that, but once he did emerge into that guy, Aldridge was stuck being number 2, which he is better suited as. Nobody builds around bigs anymore.
No.
Right. DJ?
Yeah, I mean, touching on what they were talking about. I mean, that was the best trade that they probably could have made at that time. Because, I mean, DeMar is a lot of people don't like DeMar just because of, I don't know if it's because he doesn't stretch the floor as well as certain other players, but I mean, you have to look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. He's been a 25 plus guy for consecutive years. He's a perennial all-star as well. So, I mean, you can nitpick about, he doesn't shoot the 3 ball well. He doesn't do this. He doesn't play defense. But at the same time, I mean, it is what it is. We got him who was able to kind of withstand an offensive withdrawal that we would have gotten, once we lost Kawhi. He was able to step in and contribute that way. And Poto's a young big, you know what I mean? He's young. He's on, what is he, 25, 26? I can't remember how old he is.
Yeah, I think 24.
Yeah, either way.
He's
He's young, he's productive. You know what I'm saying? He'll block some shots for you. He'll rebound for you. I like him. I mean, I don't expect him to go out and give you 20 and 10, but he's productive. So, I mean, at the time, like Rashad said, man, I mean, Ingram wasn't Ingram when that time came.
Right.
Neither was Lonzo. Lonzo was a pretty good defender, but his shot was broke, and he didn't give you much else. He could pass the ball, he could play defense, but you don't expect him to score a lot. Just like with Ingram was inconsistent. He was young. He didn't know what to expect. So, it sounds good, like you said, in hindsight. Yeah, I mean, it's like, dang, maybe we should have got him, but can't look at it like that. You got to look at it in the moment. And in that moment, Spurs made the best trade possible. So it is what it is, man. And, hopefully we can figure it out from here and bounce back.
Wouldn't the Ball and Ingram thing, if they did make that trade, wouldn't it be ideal to say that it would probably be just a year rental because they still have all their rookie contracts? So they would be lucrative to other teams to move if they didn't work out. So you could turn those into a possible first, maybe get, players that will fit the system. But, I get what y'all are saying. The whole Kawhi thing on the trade was damn near impossible to get any kind of good deal any way you looked at it. So, yeah, I do agree with that, guys. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, it just worked because at the same time, you have a distressed asset in Kawhi and you have Toronto already knowing, like, we can't keep running it back. So it just kind of worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's sad is DeMar's probably going to go back to Toronto this summer anyway. So,
yeah, I was talking to Rashad about it. I was saying, man, if I'm DeRozan at this stage of my career, there's no need to prove that I can be a 1 or a 2 on a team. Let me take my talents to where I can be a 3 on a contending team. Whether that's, now kind of trying to figure out where his best fit is. Obviously we can say Toronto, but. Do you see him taking the option to where I'm gonna be that veteran that can be that Chris Bosh role where you're a 3 and he can give you 20 points a night. Do y'all even know what team that he fits the best on outside of Toronto? Y'all got any?
Atlanta Hawks, man.
Yeah,
man. I don't think he want to go to the Atlanta Hawks.
If he wants to win now, go to the East and go to Milwaukee. You're going to be right there with Giannis. He's going to be the distributor, the facilitator. DeMar doesn't have to have the ball in his hand the entire time. He doesn't really have to even create his shot with Giannis there. Plus, you got Middleton. George Hill's up there as well. You've got good players there. And a Giannis DeMar in the Eastern Conference is going to just wreak havoc on that whole conference. So that's probably where I would go if I was him. If not, go to the Lakers. Everybody else does.
It's not basketball.
I'm gonna say he from. Yeah, you're right, man. Because I know Rashad say Atlanta, but as far as like if you want to be the guy, of course, go to Atlanta and you got you and Trae Young. You don't need to shoot threes when you got Kevin Huerter around you, supposedly Cam Reddish. Of course, Trae Young one of the 3-point shooters in the game, so you don't have to shoot there. and that's really what it's all about. Like, I know people, get mad at Ben Simmons for not shooting like that, or for guys who doesn't shoot the three ball well, but around him with the shooters. I mean, are you asking him to do that? No. So DeRozan probably needs to find a spot where he can shoot. I know we talked about like connections, Dwayne Casey, Detroit. Do you want to go there with injured Blake Griffin, Derrick Rose, and potentially a top 5 pick, whoever they may be? Could be a LaMelo Ball, could be a Wiseman, who knows who could be. And, he can go back into a system where he's, comfortable in. I do believe that him opting in will be the best thing for him and the Spurs, because I think that he may help the Spurs out instead of walking away. I think that's kind of the hope. Like, instead of him just going somewhere, hey, Spurs, I'm going to opt in. So because he want his money, right? He want that 25, $26 million. There's no way it's hard to decline the kind of money. But if he does, then he can get traded. He can opt in and get traded. And like you see, he be a 1-year rental. So wherever he goes, I feel like it'll be like a 2 or 3 spot, and he can he can flourish there.
Makes sense. I mean, if you've got LMA already opting in, DeMar opts in, then next year's All-Star break, when the trade deadline comes, is going to be very interesting, because if it's not working, then you're going to see them probably unload just about everybody. And I mean, yeah, they're going to be more lucrative then, because the playoff team is going to want a LaMarcus Aldridge, or they're going to want a DeMar DeRozan, or somebody who's right on the outside of the playoffs is going to want them. So they may pay a good price for it, just to get into the playoffs and to compete. So yeah, I mean, opting in would be perfect for him if he does do that.
Yeah, ideally for himself and the Spurs, he opts in, because nobody's going to spend big this summer, because everybody's planning for 2021. So if you opt out, there's no guarantee you will get some money, but you won't get the deal you're looking for, because people want to stay flexible for the most part. So I wouldn't take myself off the board. Like, I expect Drummond to opt in, so I expect DeMar to do the same, just to stay on the board for 2021. So once you see how those dominoes fall, you can kind of make your decision of, okay, I want to go here, I want to go there. So I don't really see the point of opting out when, Detroit, they have Blake on the books already. They're going to probably, I think Christian Wood, he's probably going to get a $15 million deal maybe. So, do you want to go reunite with Dwayne Casey that bad to go to Detroit and just lose? I mean, that's why I think the Hawks, you can go be their 2 or 3 option, because DeMar is not a one option. He's not going to lead you. He can get you to the playoffs, but he's not going to get you to a championship. So you go to the Hawks, they're paying Capella. They're not paying John Collins yet. They're not paying Trae Young yet. If you go to the Hawks and get you a 3-year deal, by the time that's up, they can pay all their young guys, and you'll probably be about 34, getting ready to wind down and retire anyway. And at least the Hawks would be an emerging team next year with all those young guys, Hunter, Reddish, Herter. So to me, that's an ideal situation for him. He can still play his mid-range game. Or if Toronto wants him back, go back to Toronto. But at the same time, it won't be the same, because Kawhi's the guy that brought the title, not you.
Yeah. What about Brooklyn? You got KD and Kyrie.
I don't like it.
I think Brooklyn and the Bucks already capped out. They can't do it.
Yeah, that is true.
Because Milwaukee already has Giannis, Middleton, Bledsoe, Hill, and Lopez all making big money. Then on the Brooklyn side, KD, Kyrie, Prince, Dinwiddie, LeVert, and I think DeAndre Jordan. They all kind of capped out. So he has to go somewhere else.
Dinwiddie is DeMar DeRozan, in my opinion.
With a 3-point shot, though. Slight 3-point shot.
Debatable, yes, but I think honestly, I think the games are really similar. I really do. Like, I'm not trying to be funny. I think the games are really similar. I don't see how DeMar could come in and click with Kyrie and KD. I don't see it.
Yeah, well, nobody can click with Kyrie, but that's a different story on a different day. Now, what do y'all think? What about think about Orlando? Because he's talking about let's say it was like, if it was a trade, then you can get yourself an Aaron Gordon. I mean, I don't know if that really appeals to y'all, but getting you a guy at the 4 spot his game has been emerging. He just known for dunking right now. So it's like he has developed a little 3-point shot. It's not the greatest, but he has developed that. His defense ain't He just a solid player. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
you're not going to get Isaac. You're not going to get Vucevic. You don't need folks. Got too many damn guards as it is. So it's like, I mean, you already got a foreigner in Bellinelli. Do you really want Fournier? Who is a better player? And it's like Terrence Ross. I mean, it's not really that many. Like, it's not really many options to trade for. But I mean, Aaron Gordon and Terrence Ross. That can get you 30 points, 35 points a game.
Yeah,
You think so?
I would
I
need
would
Mo
take
Bamba.
AG.
I would need Mo
I,
Bamba in return.
hello, you read my mind.
Yeah.
You read my mind on that one.
Yeah.
Yes,
Definitely got to be
need
Mo
Mo.
Bamba. I mean, someone that's a young
Oh yeah,
rim
yeah. You
protector.
definitely could take Bamba. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
someone
really
that's
think the
young.
Magic need Bamba. I don't
No,
think the Magic. I never understood why they drafted Bamba, but yeah, you're right. Mo Bamba would be a great. It kind of alludes to Rashad's about Miles Turner. You get somebody who
Mhm.
play defense, lock down the paint. You already got a defender in Murray, who's I'm gonna give Murray a pass this season because he's coming off an ACL injury. So next season, he need to show me something, on the offensive side. Defense, I know he's already there. But when he come over ACL injuries, I give you like 2 years to get back right. You look at Paul George, it took him 2 years before he became what he was in OKC last season. So let's see what Murray can do next year. But yeah, you add Bamba and Murray, I'm in love with it.
Yeah, that's
Facts.
true.
But you got to give Murray some credit, man. I mean, he was shooting 37% from three this year. I mean, that's a huge jump from his rookie season to his second season as well. Because I honestly, to be honest, I would have never expected him to become a serviceable shooter. I wouldn't have expected. I mean, I know he's young and I understand that, but we've been saying the same thing. I'm not comparing him to Ben Simmons. That's not what I'm doing. But we've been talking about if Ben Simmons develops this jump shot, he's gonna be this, he's gonna be that. Well, he may not ever develop that. You know what I mean? So
If it means
True.
winning, okay. So let me ask, like Rashad and everybody here. Kev, if it means winning in the next year, maybe 2 years max, but you've got to get rid of Murray and a couple of young guys, would you do it?
Who am I getting back?
right.
I mean, I'm just saying you've got a deal on the table. I don't know who it is, but you got a deal on the table, and it's a deal that says, okay, you're gonna basically win within the year or the next 2 years, but you got to lose Murray and say a Lonnie Walker.
Ugh.
Like, I would
I mean,
take
if
it
you
because
Like,
I
are we
mean,
sold on Murray?
if you're saying you're gonna win, that means I'm getting back a top 8 to 10 talent. So I'm giving up anything for a top 8 to 10 talent.
Because you have guys
I
in
mean,
town that don't want to get rid of Murray for anything. Zero. I'm like, man, if you've got a gold's mine in front of you and all they want is Murray and, a Rudy Gay and a whatever, why don't you pull that trigger? I mean, are we really sold on DeJounte Murray? Yeah, the ACL injury, it sucks. Now he's out with probably for the rest of the season. They're probably going to shut him down. So in 2 years, it's injury prone. I mean, ACL injuries, yes, you've got the Paul George, incident that he came back from, but you have more Derrick Rose type of comebacks than you do the Paul Georges. So will Murray even really be the same player that we once saw in the beginning?
His athleticism's still there. I think he's gotten a little bit
Mhm.
stronger. I don't know. I don't know yet if he's going to be a superstar or anything like that. I haven't really figured that part out. So I think it's
Mhm.
too early to say. I mean, it's his third year technically. Technically, he's only really played two. Um, and yeah, I mean, it's too early to tell. But because some guys develop at their own pace. Just like with Markel Fultz, people counted him out because of the whole shoulder situation. And I mean, he was the number one pick. So I mean, of course, he's going to be looked at as a bust. But look what he's doing in Orlando. He's playing really good basketball for them. And I'm not saying he's not a superstar by any means, or even a star, but he's a starting point guard in the NBA. Just like I feel like DeJounte Murray is as well. But yeah, to Rashad's point, yeah, if you have a chance to pick up, a guy or two that's going to help you win a championship, yeah, then you pull that trigger, no questions asked, regardless of who it is. So I mean, is DeJounte Murray that good? No. Do I think he can be? Absolutely. But again, we just don't know how that's going to turn out. We just have to wait and see.
No, Murray probably only has one more notch to his game, and it'll just be healthy, defensive oriented guard that can get you about 17 points. Like, that's probably gonna be his career ceiling right there. So
I'm cool
he'll
with that.
Yeah, he'll probably make a few more all defensive teams, first or second, depending upon who else balls out that year. But he's not going to be a superstar. He may not never even be an all star. So, I mean, if I can get something back that's going to be like an actual centerpiece, he can go. Anybody can go for the right price.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love you
if you're
guys.
talking about trading, so you're talking about trading like right now this off season, DeRozan going to opt in, Aldridge going to be there, and I can trade Murray for a guy that's better than both of them. Then like they said, I'm with it. It's like because I've always said it's like this when you try to rely on like let's say in Toronto for example before Kawhi got there, when you're relying on two guys like Lowry and DeRozan, there's no wiggle room for them to fall off. Like in the playoff series against LeBron, what happened to the Raptors all season? They was number one seed, play LeBron. Oh, we can't do nothing.
Like Damon
And
CJ.
Damon CJ another good example. But it's like a guy like CJ, a guy like Lowry and DeRozan, they're on that level to where for all 7 games, they're not going to give you A+ performance. They may give you a B here, may get a C, just different like that. And if it happens at the wrong time and you have two guys at that same level, they're going to be like this. You may have a game where they both bounce up. So when they got Kawhi there, I told everybody like now the gap between Lowry and Kawhi when Kawhi falls off to a B+ game, if Lowry stayed at the B, Toronto still had the chance to win. And then of course Siakam emerged as well too. And it's like with the Spurs, I knew when they got DeRozan and Aldridge, I was like, well, it's only but so far that they can go with because you got 2 B+ stars, and ain't nothing wrong with that. They can make the playoffs because they're consistent guys. Like at the same time, they're both consistent. They're gonna get, you're gonna get from LA, you're gonna get from DeRozan. But it's like, okay, can we have that guy that's going to emerge at some point? And if trading is how you have to do it, you have to do it. I mean, it's not really that many guys that you can say are better than those two. I mean, that you can get in a trade. I mean, only guy that wants to be built around that's probably available. I mean, Bradley Beal, but I mean, you gotta give him King's ransom. Like I don't even know who else. I mean, what position are you gonna get? Point guard, a small forward. I mean, DeRozan can play either or, but I'm saying like, damn, who can we go? Who can the Spurs go get that's going to be better than DeRozan, better than LA? Because at least with like a Boston situation, you got a Jaylen Brown or Tatum who's emerging. Gordon Hayward stay here. You got your Tatum to go on right above him. You know what I mean? And your team get better and better every single year. So I don't know. And if Murray, had these mishaps of injuries, and you don't really have nobody coming in, you got to hit on draft picks. It's kind of like, how do you get your team better to where you got a star emerging up to be better than DeRozan, to be better than Marcus Aldridge? I don't know if you found that.
To be honest with you, man, as far as the Bill thing goes, I would trade him and DeRozan straight up. But that's a different discussion. But as far as Murray goes, honestly, I'll be honest. Y'all may not agree. I'll be honest. I think Derek White's better. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. I said it when Derek White was drafted. I like Derek
Yeah,
White better than
I think Derek White's better. I mean, he can shoot the ball, he can handle the ball. He's a good passer, great defender. He can play at all 3 levels. I've yet to see that from DeJounte Murray. And yes, he's improved as a shooter, but I think that Derek White can be a much better scorer. I think he can. Honestly, I think he has the potential if he plays enough minutes to be a star. That's just my opinion. So if the Spurs came down to it and they're like, man, well, we got to choose between Derek White and DeJounte Murray, I'm taking Derek White in a heartbeat. I'm not even hesitating on that. And then you go and try to find, another piece or a better piece in regards to DeJounte Murray, because like you said, I mean, you keep having these mishaps with injuries, then, I mean, he's not going to last long. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, man. I'm just, I think as Spurs fans, none of us are used to these type of situations because they've been so consistent for so many years. And that's not necessarily just winning championships, but that's just being competitive. You know what I mean?
Right.
Year in and year out, they've been competitive. So these last 3 years have been weird. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to take some adjusting, and that starts with the front office with making the right decisions on what to do going forward. Because what's going on this year, they should have dissolved that 2 years ago. Period. There's no reason why you bring Bellinelli back for what? What are you bringing him back for?
Yeah, you don't even bring back Brent Forbes. Just let that guy
You
walk.
that's so dumb. I don't get me started on Forbes, man. I think he's garbage. He's
Mich-
trash.
the
But
Michigan State products, man.
man, keep him. Cassius Winston too. I think he's gonna be trash. But I'm sorry, that's taking it a little bit too far. But still, I just think Forbes is terrible, man. I don't know what we're doing right now, but it's a weird situation. So if we can potentially going forward, if we can get some pieces, or excuse me, get a star of some sort, and get rid of some of these pieces, especially some of these older guys, I'd do it. It's time.
Yeah, just look at Greg Popovich's record. Outside of the year they quote unquote tanked to get Tim Duncan, they've always won 50 or more games outside of what the last 3 years. This year, last year, and the year Kawhi was injured. The reason being is because a superstar like Duncan, he starts to dial it back a little bit. You got a big three, Manu, Tony, Bruce Bowen in there, and then you had the Kawhi years. When you have a superstar, you can get to 50 games, a top 4 or 5 seed all the time. But when you're just having an all-star guy, Aldrich, DeMar, it's hard to get to those 50 wins and alter your playoff seeding. So that's kind of where the Spurs' troubles have come in at, because they haven't been able to get 50 wins. So now you're getting those tougher first round matchups. And you don't have a guy who can get you over the hump when it's the fourth quarter, 2 minutes to go. We need this bucket.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So because San Antonio is not a team that acquires the free agent acquisitions, basically I'm not saying basically, but the pop success been having David Robinson, drafting Tim Duncan, hitting great draft picks on Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, getting Bruce Bowen, like guys like this in this nation where they was going to get trading George Hill for Kawhi Leonard, like all these moves, and since then, so that's why I kind of, I'm not saying predicted the Spurs downfall, but it's kind of like, okay, how will the Spurs bounce back? And if they do trade LA, and if you and DeRozan do opt out, and these guys that you drafted, Murray's and Lonnie Walker's, Keldon Johnson's, if they don't pan out, like what is there to do? As a Spurs, because you have to have these moments to where you need to just go ahead, and that's why I thought this should have been the big time for the blow up, because if you blow it up, you guarantee you not winning that many more games. Try to fall down and get a better percentage on the draft lottery, and maybe you can hope to win one of these, because that's the thing with the Spurs is, if you have to sign someone like a Marcus Morris, they decided not to come. You had to go get DeMar Carroll, who you didn't even play. If you have to go down the draft and you have to hit on these picks, I guess I'm trying to say, like, what kind of confidence do y'all have in picking the right people? Because I'm not saying, like, I know it's like I said, it's way too early to say Lonnie Walker's not going to be it, Kevin Johnson's not going to be it, even Murray with the injuries. But how confident y'all are that they can, Spurs front office can draft the right people? Because even if I'm not saying Pop ain't the right guy, but I mean, there's rumors about him going to the Nets. Like, is it time to have that culture change any within this next few years?
I think if Pop not necessarily leaves the Spurs, but let's say he resigns his coaching position and just sticks to the VP position that he has, and him and RC, we're not going to beat around the bush, man. I mean, these guys are the ones that drafted, Ginobili in the second round, like second to last pick, I believe it was. Parker with like the 29th pick, Murray late. The only time they've ever really moved up in the draft to get somebody was when they drafted Kawhi, who really nobody knew about. I mean, Kawhi really came out of nowhere. So they saw something in him. So when it comes to drafting, it really doesn't, it doesn't matter who it is, what it is. The Spurs draft, their front office drafts guys, like, I mean, they're perfect. I mean, look at the guys they got rid of. Leandro Barboza, they drafted him, they shipped him out. Luis Scola. I mean, these guys have all made it on NBA rosters and were guys that would make a difference on NBA games. So yeah, their drafting is perfect. What I would like to see is if Pop was to just stay in the VP, VP area, him and RC do the drafting, have a coach. Everybody's calling, Becky Hammond. Tim Duncan got his first win as a head coach recently. You know, the the development that Becky had in the summer league with the young guys was remarkable. I mean, she had these guys believing in her system. She took them to a title. I mean, for God's sake, she made Kyle Anderson, damn near summer league MVP. I mean, and we're talking Kyle Anderson. So,
Slow mo.
this her coaching it's like I said, it's unbelievable. It's good. So I have no problem with them getting her the players that she would need if she is the next head coach, because she can develop them. She still has Chip England. She still has a guy like Duncan. Who knows who's going to join the staff next? I mean, honestly, Brett Brown is coming out for the Philadelphia 76ers bench. I would like to see him kind of squirm back into an assistant coach with the Spurs, because he still has that winning mentality. He knows the Spurs style of basketball. So it would be good to get someone like him back on if he's not going to be a head coach somewhere else. But yeah, dude, developing players and drafting them, no doubt. This season, this draft's going to be tight. It's going to be a little rough, because there's only a couple of players that actually make sense for the Spurs, and if they're not available, you need to trade out, man. Get draft picks for another year or something. Just trade out and see what you can do with something else, and I guess in years to come.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 10. They can definitely rebuild a team within the next year or two. They've always drafted well, as you said. I mean, they have an excellent scouting department, excellent player development department. Look at what Murray's done to his game, what Kawhi did to his game, and the list goes on. So they have an excellent development system. So they can easily get back to where they were, whether that's perennial playoff team, whether that's Western Conference Finals, or whether that's adding another NBA title to the Raptors. They can definitely get back. It's just a matter of hitting on the picks and who they're going after. So let's say this year they do hit the lottery.
It's an online
Yeah, let's say this year they do hit the lottery and kind of get a top 5 or top 7 pick. It would be something there for them to build around. Or the reason I keep throwing the Hawks out, because the Hawks will have some pretty good draft capital, and there's a Spurs connection there, even with the Nets. So maybe they can try to get a trade going for a pick, some players, and boom, you got you may land 2 good picks in the lottery, and you can easily be set for next year, or at least have some foundational pieces going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Boston's one to watch. They got 3 picks this year in the first round, if I'm not mistaken.
Man, those dudes always have a lot of picks. I'm not so.
That's
But Danny ain't just scared to pull the trigger, man.
I'm telling you, man.
I mean, between Danny and Sam Presti, those are almost the two outs, and them and Masai Ujiri, of course. But those guys know how to work a draft, know how to work some trades, where you can leverage what you have and get something back.
It's that NBA 2K19 type stuff there or something.
Stockpile.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Facts. But yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, DJ. Go finish your point about the rebuilding.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they pretty much touched on everything, man. Honestly, yeah. I mean, there's only one guy for me. Obi Toppin or bust. That's it for me.
Obi or bust. I like it.
Obi or bust, man.
That means special.
He really is, and I just feel like he would fit the Spurs culture perfectly, man. You can plug him in right there, whether you want to plug him in with Luka or you want to plug him in with Jakob. I really don't care. Just make it work. I mean, you get those young guys. If you get a lineup of White, Walker, Keldon, Luka, and Obi, or maybe reverse Luka and Obi, however you want to do it, I think that's a fun team. I think that's a fun lineup. I mean, they might take their lumps early, but I mean, I think going forward that would be a good lineup, man. And then you have Lonnie. Well, did I say Lonnie already? Or you have White or whoever coming off the bench, however you want to do it. But yeah, I mean, if not, then yeah, I agree. I mean, if you don't get, there's only it's top heavy in this draft. So I mean, you might maybe the first maybe the first 10 picks that's really top heavy. So anybody after that, maybe 15. I don't know. Either way, if you get somewhere within that, after that, and you can't really find anybody that's gonna push your team over the hump or to that next level, then yeah, you definitely trade back, or you try to get a couple more draft picks for the future, however you want to do it. But yeah, like I said, it's Obi Toppin a bust for me, and yeah, make Becky Hammond coach too, because honestly, I mean, Pop's been doing it for so long. it might be time for, Pop to take that step back, focus on, like a front office kind of role, helping with stuff like that instead of trying to coach at this point. I mean, because he has nothing else to prove. You know what I mean? I think Becky's hungry, so I think that's a good option.
No, one more
y'all
year.
think
Pop cannot go out on no bad team like that. He need one more year.
for real, do you think if Pop leaves, and like I said, let's say he go to the Nets, right? Is Becky your only choice, or is that is that just something? I mean, I like Becky too, but y'all think that's the only choice, or would y'all prefer even though it's kind of like a trade, but if y'all get a Kenny Atkinson who, he loves the small ball role. You don't think Kenny the guy? I like Kenny, man. I guess DJ don't approve.
I don't know.
At all.
There's only one guy I'd like to see on the Spurs, which won't happen, I know for a fact, unless he gets fired, and that's Brad Stevens. I've been a huge Brad Stevens fan. I love what he's done in Boston. So I'd love to see Brad Stevens coach, but outside of that, you've got capable coaches already, with Becky. I mean, Tim's not exactly head coach material. I think he's just
not.
more of he's just more, hey, we're here to kind of help the guys out pretty much.
My man got dreads now, man.
Yeah. I think Becky's good. Like I said, I mentioned Brett Brown. Brett Brown, has got titles under the Spurs. He knows the Spurs philosophy. I look at him as, another study of Pop, to where I don't think the players would play his style of basketball. So really the only option for me is, probably Becky. Becky's there. I mean, she's already proven herself summer league. She's proven herself, throughout the seasons, and there's tons of teams already wanting her already. So why not just keep her within the system and just let her have the reins, man? I mean, there's no harm.
Hashtag free Becky.
You can't do any worse.
Yeah, one more year for Pop. Let him go out with an Olympic gold medal, rebuild his name next year, and of course develop the staff some more. And then after that, I would love to see Becky be the successor, because I think the Spurs organization is the only one strong enough that wouldn't run her off. Like, I feel like New York market, LA market, Houston market, some of these other places, they would just eat her alive. I mean, she can handle it, but I think the Spurs market will actually support her. She can get a 7, 8 year, 9-year run in, and maybe get a chance to develop some players and have some success, versus if she was somewhere else, they'll run her off for 2 years.
No, I agree with that. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much all. Anybody else got anything they want to get off their chest about the Spurs before we get out of here? Anybody get up? Anything else you want to get off your chest?
It's been a disappointing season.
Exactly. I could say a lot, but I don't know if this is an R-rated show. So
Facts.
Hey, y'all funny. Hey, but I appreciate y'all joining me on my first Preaching to the Choir. Like I said, appreciate Rudy for joining me, Rashad and DJ. I don't know what team I'm doing next, but it's gonna be a good one. We got an NFL coming up, free agency, so that's gonna be fun. So I'll probably come get you and DJ on the Steelers. Rashad, definitely have you on the Patriots. And Rudy, who your team is in there?
I hate to say
Patriots.
It's the Falcons. So
Falcons.
I'm not proud of it, but
Oh, Atlanta. Ooh. But that'd be a good one too.
You a Pats fan?
Man, I love Tom Brady, man.
Oh man, I see. You're supposed to be my guy, man. I don't know, man. I can't.
Tom Brady, the GOAT, man.
Yeah, he is the GOAT. I respect that. I just hate the Patriots, man. They've been beating my Steelers since he got to the league. I'm sick of him. Retire.
He out of there. Don't worry about it. Patriots smart. Anyway, like I said, I appreciate y'all for joining me, man.
Already, bro.
No problem, man.
All right, we out.
Yeah.